Hi, today we have the iconic Mary Katrantzou with us, the amazing English designer who's been at the forefront of the digital revolution in fashion. And recently, her show happened in Poseidon Temple, the iconic Greek heritage structure, which has been the talk of the couture circuit internationally. And thank you so much for taking the time off and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you've been the pioneer of print digital revolution in fashion. I mean, you're the one who started it. And now your designs are being copied left, right, and center. So how does it feel? I mean, they say imitation is a form of flattery. But at some point, does it bother you that, something which you so painfully cultivated, your distinctive vocabulary is being ripped apart?
I think I started back in 2008, and when there's a movement that becomes more than a trend, and I think the digital revolution, the advances in technology allowed you to that. Of course, there's going to be a movement following that, copying it and offering it in a more democratic way. But looking at 10 years ahead where we are now, it's a very different world. How people view accessible fashion and how much value they actually put in craftsmanship and unique pieces. So, what you could tell about the narrative or a story through print, now as designers and as you evolve in your own work, you want to say that through silhouette, through craftsmanship, through innovation in textile design. So, I see my work changing, and you try to evolve it in a way that it actually becomes more and more difficult to copy. And you want to create these pieces that are so unique and timeless, where, employing digital technology only becomes one methodology to create your work, but it's not as singular. So I think, I was flattered in a way, but also it saturated the market to such an extent that it pushed me to think about what's next. How can I visualize and translate my vision in a way beyond print, beyond the advances in technology, beyond the imagery. And in the most recent show that we did in Greece at the Temple of Poseidon, each piece to me, because it signified an idea that was birthed at the time that temple was built, it gave you the opportunity to look at a different technique for every single piece that you showed. And I think that's the way forward. Is a success for every designer to be able to create work that people want to copy, but they find it very difficult to do so.
You've applied beautifully principles of architecture and fashion time and again. What's the root of your artistic expression? Like, I remember the iconic Shalimar perfume bottle dress, which you recreated, the Fabergé egg outfit. And I remember once you were inspired by a butcher's apron.
Oh, wow, your knowledge is very thorough. I'm inspired by ideas, and it doesn't matter how abstract or how specific an idea could be. I started, with a collection of perfume bottles because I found the synergy between a perfume bottle and an hourglass silhouette in creating the most flattering, let's say, heightened version of a woman's figure. And then by doing so, it kind of created a foundation of inspiration that allowed me to look into objects of art, into everyday objects, into collections that were based on Pangea and Panthalassa, collections that were based on symbolism. This time, the whole collection was based on the importance of the word idea. And my 10-year anniversary was about, the collection was about the importance of collectibles in their own right. They say, "Η αρχή είναι το ίμιση του παντός," which is a Greek saying that puts focus on your inspiration and on making actually that start. And it translates as the beginning is 50% of everything. So to me, a collection, how it's formed, allows you to be inquisitive and offer something new. I used to be very afraid that I would run out of ideas when I started, and then you realize it's actually, the idea is really just the inspiration. Then what you make of it and how you put your own perspective on it is what makes it uniquely yours.
Also, every brand goes through a cycle. Like, if I recall your earlier collection, they were heavy on digital print. Now, like fall 19, if I see the latest offering, they're high on embellishment, surface texturing, a lot of feathers, a lot of ruffles.
It's always about narrative. It's always about storytelling. It's about creating identity while embracing individuality for a woman that feels drawn to the collection. It's about using the image as a backbone for inspiration, but an image can be translated, as you said, into a print. It can translate into an embroidery. It can translate into a silhouette, a drape, a cut. It doesn't really matter. I think it's part of our evolution to challenge yourself and your team to find new ways of communicating that vision. I think when I started, I used print because it was the strongest voice I could put forward, and I think it's important to have the strength of your own conviction. Print was important, and it still is today, but it's not the only, let's say, means of communication of your creativity, you know.
And a lot of your embroidery happens in Bombay, in India. So do we ever see you doing a completely pan-India inspired collection?
You know what, the show I did in Greece inspired me on a completely different level to anything else I've done before. Not only because I was going back to my roots and it became a love letter to my own country, or the country that my creativity was initially formed, but also because it allowed me to be inspired by its culture in a more meaningful way. That started with a quote from Socrates, went into biology, alchemy, theology, philosophy, so many important, I guess, foundations of thought that originated at that time. And that made me think about cultures around the world that have that rich history. India is 100% one of these cultures that has such a rich cultural heritage that I think is inspiring for every designer. And I think if I was given the opportunity to do something around that, it would be a wonderful exploration.
And also your embroideries are all couture level, like they're all made to measure, hand embroidered, a lot of painstaking hard work goes into it. But do you think that the fact that you operate from London and not from Paris, like Paris is always synonymous with couture. I mean, this is maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that London designers don't really get the due as a Milanese or a Parisian. And also London fashion week gets squashed between New York and Milan. Do you agree?
London gave me a platform that I don't think any other city could have given me when I was starting out. I studied in London. It's part of my formation. I'm part of a generation where the dialogue we had, and you do have a dialogue with designers when you show at the same time, was very relevant. And 10 years on, you look at what's the next chapter of your work. And to me, the show again in Greece was formative. I think going forward, being able to take, you know, your brand where it is today and use that foundation and everything you've learned to look at what are in the end the pillars and what is important. So to me, doing these bespoke made-to-measure couture pieces has opened up a completely different world of opportunity. And I think that's exciting for every designer. I would hate to know exactly where I'll be in 10 years. So, you know, it was London last season. Or the season before that, it was the Temple of Poseidon, the season that just passed. And I want to leave that conversation open for the season coming.
Also, the clothes you make are very artisanal. And they have a strong visual, tactile quality. I mean, they're not your run-of-the-mill cocktail party dresses. So who's the woman, who's the Mary Katrantzou woman who you're designing for, you have in mind?
I think it's artistic. My work is artistic, and I try to protect that. I think it's important because I know that women who buy into my work follow it season after season and they collect it. And I think it's the most wonderful compliment to know that women have been with you alongside, you know, a career of spanning 10 years. I think that's at the heart of my creativity, and it's the woman I talk to. So, you know, not every woman buys your clothes for the exact same reason, but I think that's important to protect. They were first, you know, drawn to my work, and now they have become my close friends. And when I'm designing, I'm thinking about these women, where they would wear it, what would they like, what have they been drawn to, how can I push myself forward? And I think that journey is very important for every designer to be in sync. The women that are drawn to my work are strong women. They're women who are confident. They're women who want to stand out. They're women who are incredibly generous, and they have an appreciation for filtered beauty through design. And I think that's what I try to always maintain as part of every collection. You know, I think that consistency is important, and then you can push every element and find newness.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.